Horrifying facts about Star Trek TNG's uniform. We loved the futuristic look of the uniforms, but the costumes turned out to be nightmarish behind the scenes. The one thing you couldn't tell from watching the show is that the costumes stank. The uniforms ruined their backs. Another unforeseen problem with spandex is it doesn't stretch in all directions. According to Blackman, the spandex they used would only stretch from side to side or top to bottom, depending on how you cut the garment. Since they decided to cut it side to side, this meant the uniforms would pull downwards constantly on them. Stewart described it as constantly having to fight against the spandex to stand upright, so much the uniforms would dig into the cast's shoulders. After wearing them up to 15 hours a day, Stewart says he was told by his chiropractor that if he didn't get out of the costume, it would do permanent lasting damage. The uniforms were hot. Another problem with spandex is that it doesn't breathe. After a few hours, they grew incredibly hot and uncomfortable. The studio lights the cast worked under during shooting didn't help. I'm sure all that sweat didn't help with the odor problems. The uniforms couldn't move with all the problems of spandex. Costume designer Blackman decided to switch to wool gabardine in the third season, which would look sort of like spandex but wouldn't have the problems they had faced. Unfortunately, the new fabric wasn't as flexible. Says Blackman, if you watch the first 6 or 7 episodes, you'll see the actors look like they are in spandex outfits, but they are made of wool, and the actors can't move, they can't raise their arms, they can't do anything. Eventually, he changed to a two-piece uniform that solved the problem. The show went on to dazzle audiences and relieve the crew. The boobs are, mostly, fake. Star Trek series have always had beautiful women to admire, and TNG is no exception. Dr. Crusher and Counselor Troy made many a young man's heart skip a beat, especially in the form-fitting outfits they wore. Only one problem: they all had interior padded bras with seamless cups. Marina Sirtis called hers the industrial-strength Starfleet brassiere, and a wonder of modern engineering. I mean, I used to take it off at night and go, oh blimey, where did they go? Actually, padded bras have been used in all of Star Trek series from the original to Enterprise. Of course, it hasn't always been popular with the crew. Kate Mulgrew once famously ripped out hers and threw it on a producer's desk, refusing to wear it. According to costume designer Robert Blackman, there is a certain part where if you're wearing them for a long period of time, you can't really clean all the smell out. The uniforms were too small. Roddenberry specifically wanted the costumes to be form-fitting, so they were intentionally made to sizes too small. The cast couldn't have any weight gain or it would show immediately. LeVar Burton once said, "We hated our space suits.